Hi guys, this is Arnav from the TAS marketing team. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, we help marketers increase their conversion rate by 2 to 3x using conversational landing pages. In this video series, we're actually showing you guys exactly how we go about creating those conversational landing pages. We usually take a traditional landing page and we transform it into a high converting conversational landing page. In this case, we're taking a look at the landing page of the American Capital Group, and we're going to try to convert this into a high converting conversational landing page. So with that, I'm going to open up the builder. I have this first gambit set up with the first message. This first message is what we like to call the hook. It's actually the first couple of messages. The hook is essentially the first couple of messages that a prospect sees when they land on your page. And it's absolutely imperative that in these messages, you grab their attention. Human beings in general have very short attention spans. 2015 study by Microsoft actually found that it was 7 seconds, which is actually lower than the attention span of the infamous goldfish. So your aim in these first couple of messages is to capture the prospect's attention as quickly as possible. And the best way to do that, the first thing you have to do is first introduce the company and provide a logo, because nothing builds legitimacy like branding. If I personally land on a page and I don't see a logo, I don't see the name of the company, it just screams spammy to me and I close out. So I always like to keep the first message a welcome message, which basically states the company's name and shows the logo. But after that, what you want to do in the next couple of messages is capture the value of the company in a couple of messages that are quite short, in as short a space as possible. And the best way to go about this, if you're converting a traditional landing page, is to look at the heading and the subheading, because in a traditional landing page, you're essentially trying to do the same thing with these two elements. You want to capture the main value proposition in as crisp a piece of text as possible. And over here, looking at the hook on this page, or looking at the heading and subheading on this page, the main value of American Capital Group is that their application process is hassle-free. Generally speaking, loan application processes tend to be pretty long and cumbersome processes. You have to fill out a bunch of forms. You have to wait for approval. You have to submit a bunch of documents, and you might even get rejected after all of that. So the fact that they are offering a hassle-free application process is actually a pretty decent value proposition in this space. So to begin with, I'm going to try and capture that hassle-free value prop in one message. So the way I'm going to phrase that is probably something like this. Where we help entrepreneurs like you grow businesses through hassle-free equipment financing. It captures the main value proposition, which is hassle-free equipment financing. I'm actually going to make that bold for anyone who's skimming through the messages on this page. The next message is going to be the ask. So this is going to be where we tell them how they can proceed the conversation, how they can actually avail of this equipment, this hassle-free equipment financing. So I'm going to say, hit the button below and we'll get you pre-approved in minutes. I'm going to bold hit the button below. I'm actually also going to add a down pointing emoji. And the reason I like to do that is because you'd be surprised at how many people are absent-minded and miss the fact that they have to look below. They skim through the text, even though it's a short piece of text, and they miss that out. So just having that visual cue over there helps them figure out how they can proceed the conversation. So over here in three messages, we've actually captured the value of the company. It's hassle-free equipment financing, and we've made an ask of them. Now we want to make it as easy as possible. This is a key part of the hook for them to continue the conversation. And the best way to go about this is by using buttons. Buttons offer a single tap way for the prospect to continue the conversation. So it's much better than asking them for their name, which requires a bunch of taps and takes time to actually finish. So you're really trying to get this first back and forth done within the first 7 seconds, and having a button as the user response option is the quickest way of achieving that. Um, I'm going to add an icon. Again, human beings are visual creatures. So having things like icons, emojis, just makes it a little easier for prospects to process what's on the screen. I'm just going to adjust the delays a little bit. It feels a lot more natural when you're talking to an actual human being. They type for a little bit. It also gives people the opportunity to read previous messages before new messages show up. So for example, if I sent this message that says hit the button below a little too quickly, it will move the previous message up the screen, and that might be a little annoying because the prospect was probably reading this message when the new message appeared. So with that, the hook is complete. Now we're going to go directly into the lead generation flow. In this case, we have a form to go off of. The form is a little long for my liking. I'm just going to scroll through this landing page a little bit, get a sense of what's going on. You have a bunch of really artificial looking stock images, which isn't pleasing. All of these people on the page are very clearly stock images, and they are not really too apologetic about it. They're throughout the page. Anyways, I digress. The lead generation flow, they are asking for 7 different fields over here, which is a little long for my liking. I'm probably going to drop email and keep just phone number. That you just need one form of contact to get in touch with them the first time. You can ask them for email once they are in the sales funnel already and they feel a little bit more invested. So I'm going to drop email. That'll reduce the number of fields that we're collecting. And the first field I'm going to ask them for is their name, obviously. So let's go ahead and ask them for their name. Actually, let's ask them for their full name because this is a loan application process. So let's acknowledge that we got their message. Let's acknowledge the fact that they said they want to get pre-approved. The reason I like to acknowledge them is, first of all, it feels more human. If I was chatting with someone, I'd acknowledge the fact that they sent me a message. And that leads to a second important point, which is that it feels more personalized. When it feels more personalized, we found that prospects are more likely to convert. It kind of makes sense. One of the things that I don't like about forms is that they are so bland and so devoid of any personality. They're just a boring creation. So to be the antithesis of that, I like to add small things like acknowledging that we got the user's previous message. So let's say I will need a few details to get you pre-approved. First, an easy one. That is your full name. Make full name bold, obviously, and we can add name verification. So this is going to check, actually, let's make it full name verification. This is going to check that they're giving you a full name, not just a first name, not just a last name. I don't know why they'd give you just a last name. So usually they just give you a first name. But this is going to, if they give you just a first name, the conversational landing page is going to say something like, could you please give us your full name instead? Because we really need that for the pre-approval process. So now that we've got their name, we need to collect the other details. Now with this, it's actually important how you order the questions that you ask of the prospect. We actually found this out by talking to one of our customers who did this experimentation on their conversational landing page. They found that if you ask prospects for their contact information, so like email, phone number first, they are less likely to convert because something like a phone number is a pretty personal piece of information, and they don't want to share that with a company until they feel like they're getting some value from that company. So usually what we like to do is we like to ask for the fields which are important to the prospect first. So these are the fields that make them feel like they're getting an actual service, they're getting an actual they're getting something from the company they're interacting with. So in this case, I'm going to ask for company name, equipment, equipment cost, and TIB years first. So I'm just going to breeze through this real quick. First of all, I'm going to, again, acknowledge them. Nice to meet you. Speed that full name. What is the name of your company? We do not need to add any verification here. We can just leave it at custom text because we're not looking for a full name. We're not looking for an email. We're just looking for the company name, and that is different for different people. It's completely unique to the individual business owner. The next thing, the next field that we want is the equipment that they are looking for, because again, this is equipment financing. So let's acknowledge them again. Got it. What piece of equipment do you need? Actually, it might not necessarily be a single piece. So let's say, what equipment do you need a loan for? Old equipment, because that's the actual field name. This is again for people who are skimming. And the next one is equipment cost. So let's say, all right, how much does that equipment cost? To be absolutely clear, let's just clarify this is in dollars, because this is an American company. In dollars, of course. One thing that I am going to do in this field, since we really want a number from them, is I'm going to change the keyboard type to a number keyboard. So this means that if you're on mobile, it's going to slide up a keypad instead of the full keyboard, and this ensures that the prospect is giving you an actual number cost, a numerical cost. And the next field is TIB years. I actually didn't know what TIB years meant, and this is one of my issues with this landing page. If I was a new business owner who was looking for a loan and I landed on this page, I wouldn't be able to complete this form because I don't know what TIB years means. And if I Google TIB years, it doesn't really help me very much, because what shows up is actually the information about a bank called the Independent Bankers Bank, TIB Bank. It doesn't tell me what TIB years actually means. So I'm going to be very careful to avoid that error. And actually, I'm going to sneak this in here after the company name, because I feel like it makes sense to ask for all the details relating to the company at once and then ask for all the details relating to the equipment at once. It doesn't really make sense to ask for a detail about the company, ask about the equipment, and then go back to asking about the company. It just doesn't flow very well. So TIB years. And I'm going to phrase it in a way that even the new business owner who doesn't know what TIB years means can respond to the question. So I'm going to say, got it. How long has the company, actually we can say, how long has company name been operational? And we can put it, or let's say how many years? Many years. For how many years has the company been operational? And we've input the actual company name. This adds a personal touch. It makes them absolutely certain that we have actually got their previous information. In fact, we don't need the acknowledgement over here because we are using the company name. And I might actually, I'm going to bold how many years, or years rather, just so for the person who's skimming through this message. Make it a number keyboard again because we're looking for a numerical value. And that's pretty much it. We have completed the lead generation flow. We just need to get the the contact info. And as I mentioned before, ordering really matters. So I'm asking for the contact info at the end, and it sort of makes it feel like asking for the contact info is just incidental to the pre-approval process. We've got all these details. We're in the process of pre-approving you. How can we contact you when we're done? I'm going to say, great. I'd say something I might add an emoji over here, but since the target audience is, I might add like a smiley face emoji, but since the target audience is slightly older, I presume, because this is a small business financing company, and I presume small business owners tend to be on the older side, I'm not going to do that. Key part of making conversational landing pages is recognizing who your audience is and toning yourself towards that audience. So I'm going to say, great, I've passed the details along to my team. How can they get in touch with you? Actually, not how can they get in touch with you, because that would be a medium. If you provide your phone number below, add the pointing emoji again. The pointing emoji is just a direction, which is why I don't mind using it compared to an actual face emoji. Our team will get in touch with you in a few minutes to complete the pre-approval. This is on the longer side, so I'm going to remove the in a few minutes pre-approval process. If you phone number, let us bold that. And let's put number verification on. So it's going to look for a 10-digit mobile number. Yep. Actually, let's just keep it at mobile because, again, this is an older target audience. They might provide a landline, which could, in some cases, not be 10 digits long. I don't know if that's the case actually in the US. Maybe that's only a thing outside of the US. Yeah, maybe that's the thing outside of the US, but I'm just going to keep it as mobile instead of mobile 10-digit. If I put it as mobile 10-digit, it's going to look for a 10-digit number. In particular, if I put it as just mobile, it's just going to look for a phone number in general. And if they don't give a phone number, it's going to say, hey, could you give us an actual phone number, please? And let's change the delays. And that's pretty much it. That's the lead generation flow complete. We can acknowledge the fact that they have received this, that they've completed the process. Let's say end. Thank you. You are on your way to getting the equipment financing. That's too many U's. So what's a better way to phrase this? Let's see. Expect a call in a few minutes. Yeah, I didn't actually include the few minutes in the previous gambit, so I can say that over here. Expect our call in a few minutes. Have a day. Have a great day. So that's the whole lead generation flow complete. Yeah, I don't think I've actually missed anything out in this lead generation flow. We've captured everything that they want in in this form over here. So let's take a look at how the bot actually looks, how the conversational landing page actually looks, and how the lead generation flow reads. So welcome to the American Capital Group. We help entrepreneurs like you grow businesses through hassle-free equipment financing. Hit the button below and we'll get you pre-approved in minutes. If I hit the button, it begins the conversation to capture the leads. So I'm going to, I actually don't like how long it takes for the actual question to appear over there. So I'm going to reduce it by one message. I'm going to use and remove one message, hit deploy. And the next time I refresh this page, the change should show up. Name of your company, I want to bold that. So name of your company, save. So that will, if I hit deploy, that'll happen the next time I refresh this. So let's say TARS. Let's see. Okay. How many years has TARS LLC been operational? 3. I think it's 3 at this point. Maybe 4. Got it. What equipment do you need a loan for? I mean, we are a software company, so servers maybe. I mean, buy servers these days. All right. How much does that equipment cost? In dollars, of course. Let's say 10,000. I have no idea how much server costs. Great. I pass the details along to my team. If you provide your phone number below, I'm going to give them a random. Actually, let's see what happens if I give them random text. Please give a valid phone number. Let's give them that. That's not actually my phone number. That's just a bunch of random numbers I picked, and that's the whole lead generation flow done. The one thing that I do want to change in this is the way this conversational landing page looks. So we've discussed how to phrase the messages in this. We've discussed how to phrase the hook. Keep it short. Don't send particularly long messages, and capture the value in these first couple of messages. We've discussed the ordering of the questions that you want to ask in the lead generation flow, and we've discussed that you should acknowledge each user input that you get. But something that's equally important, I alluded to it a little before, is branding. Nothing builds legitimacy like branding. When people land on a page, they expect to see consistent branding throughout that page. And right now, this chat interface looks extremely generic. If I landed on this page, I would drop because this blue doesn't match the blue of the branding. It looks generic, and generic pages. I tend to be a little suspicious of them. I know that prospects tend to be, because we've noticed with some of our customers that when they improve their design, it usually translates into a better conversion rate, even if it's just by a few percentage points. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my handy color picker tool. I'm going to figure out what color blue this is, get the hexadecimal, go to the design section. I'm one of those people who likes to make the bot and the user bubbles the same color. If the company has two particularly prominent, I guess over here they have a lighter shade of blue. So you know what, we can, I like the darker shade of blue better though. I like the darker shade of blue a lot better. And I can actually make that darker shade of blue the background color as well, and see what that looks like. Page background. Let's see what this looks like in practice. All right, it's looking way better than it did before. The branding is consistent. There's a logo, and the lead generation experience is ordered well. It acknowledges user input. It feels human. I think a hook is pretty great. The messages aren't too long. You're not reading more than a couple of tweets worth of text, and it captures the value. So all in all, I'm pleased with this. We can do a quick side by side to actually, you know what? One thing I cannot forget to change. I always forget to do this. Is I want to change the URL. So American Capital Group. Let's hit save, deploy. There we go. The URL is also changed so that it's consistent with the company's branding. So let's do a quick side by side just to see what how these landing pages compare to each other. This is a little unfair because actually, I guess this shows the limitations of a traditional landing page. The fact that when I reduce it to half the screen, all of the elements get squished together is a problem. With a conversational landing page, you're not going to face that issue because chat interfaces are optimized for mobile screens with apps like WhatsApp and Messenger and things like that. So it's made to work on a big screen and a small screen equally. But even if I zoom out a little bit on this page to make it look a little bit more normal, you can see the difference at a glance. There's a lot more content on this page. On the traditional page, it's definitely a lot more crowded. There is a ugly looking form staring back at you. You can see all the fields that you have to fill out. And on the flip side, in the conversational landing page, there's a couple of tweets worth of text, a single button CTA. So as a prospect, if I'm landing on the conversational landing page on the right, I have less text to read, and it's easier for me to continue the conversation. I'm not confronted with this form. I don't have to skim through the page and look for the information that's important to me. And perhaps most importantly of them all, speaking of the form, the lead generation process is back and forth. That means that every time I provide a piece of information, like my full name, I'm rewarded with some amount of visual stimulation on the screen that sort of captures my attention and prepares me to submit the next detail. And the end result of this transformation, when you go from the landing page on the left to the conversational landing page on your right, again, is an increase in conversion rate by 2 to 3x. So that's it for today. Let us know what you guys think. If you guys have a landing page you want transformed like this, send it to us, drop it in the comments, just get it to us somehow, and we will actually go ahead and convert it for you. And if you want, we will also make a video like this for you. That's it for today. I hope you guys learned something in this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.